David Baddiel talking to Steve Smith. Now, Nigel Farage likes to lead UKIP from the front, to set the tone, as it were. Think of his speech to the city, opining that women that take time away to have children are less valuable to their employers. Other members have distinguished themselves talking about bongo land, and one councillor, now suspended, insisted the English floods were as a result of the UK government's decision to legalise gay marriage. And this week, UKIP referred their Scottish interim chairman to a leading anti-sectarian charity, supposedly, I think, for re-education, after he described a local authority as being for gays, Catholics and communists. All this months after Nigel Farage said he wanted to professionalise the party. In a moment, I'll be asking UKIP's deputy chairman whether you can change the DNA of UKIP. But first, here's our political editor, Emily Maitless again.
A gay anthem like this doesn't suddenly become a chart crusade for no reason.
I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna let myself get absolutely soaking wet.
And the reason it could be set to climb is this. What? Well, not this exactly, but this man, David Sylvester, formerly of the Conservatives, now of UKIP, who said at the weekend the country had been beset by storms since gay marriage was passed into law. Public outcry, certainly on Twitter, was palpable. Mr Sylvester looked as if he would survive the day, but he didn't. He was suspended by UKIP after defying a request not to do further interviews. And the curious thing here is not, dare I say, an unusual view expressed by a UKIP member. No, the curious thing here is the swift action at the top of the party.
Now, UKIP is proud of its man on the streets or man in the pub image, but Newside understands that a campaign is quietly afoot to try and professionalise the party, driven by an understanding of how much its membership has widened and even changed.
You, sir, are a racist. Why am I a racist for saying...
It's a big leap for a party that has, up till now, dared to say and do the unsayable.
Disgraceful! You're disgraceful!
Who could forget the larger-than-life Godfrey Bloom, seen here whacking my colleague Michael Crick over the head in happier times? He was the one you might remember who called countries that received government aid bongo land. Godfrey, not Michael. He survived many of his outbursts, but eventually lost the whip last September. Earlier today, I spoke to the North West MEP candidate, Lee Slaughter, who told me it was imperative people were allowed to speak their mind.
Our democracy is suffering from a deficit of the truth. If you nail people down, and if the media jump on every difference, then all you're doing is damaging democracy.
Last week, Mr Slaughter suspended his own Twitter and Facebook accounts. I asked if it was because of anything he'd said that he regretted. The tweet, for example, where he referred to the US president as Islam Obama.
But why did you call him Islam Obama then? I mean, what did you mean?
You seem to be going down a route, Emily, which we should move off because it's out of context again. Now, it's a tweet. It's irrelevant in effect. What we're talking about is policy, and we're talking about the macro view of the world and what is going on.
UKIP will tell you that the media concentrates disproportionately on their crazies when they can be found in every party. But the fact there does seem to be some attempt at a January detox is not insignificant. Climate change, for example, is an area they've been told to approach with slightly more nuance rather than flat denials.
One senior UKIP figure told me we don't need to be the party of pub bores who always think they know better than the scientists. He said, I can't see UKIP becoming an ultra-politically correct party, but it's about limiting self-indulgence.
Nigel Farage.
It may sound like a strategy any party needs to implement if it's becoming serious about power, but for some of the UKIP old guard, it's a concern and a deep disappointment. They point to the top of the party and say it's become detached from the very base it stood for. If you divorce yourself from your grassroots, they feel abandoned, he went on. The party chairman is not an elected post, he's paid and chosen specifically by Nigel Farage. Another even described the UKIP headquarters in central London as being the Brook Street Gestapo. And if more power beckons, the dichotomy is this: how to maintain their position as the insurgents, the outsiders in UK politics, without letting their candidates entirely lose the plot. We're devolving our own smoke-filled rooms, one party member told me wistfully. Now, UKIP members love their smoke-filled rooms. They just want to be on the inside.
Emily Maitless reporting. Well, Neil Hamilton was a Tory minister who fell from grace. Now he's UKIP's deputy chair and national campaigns director. Neil Hamilton, how does the new UKIP differ from the old UKIP?
Well, it doesn't, because what we've heard this evening is a few individuals who couldn't discipline themselves, knowing how the media are going to report them, and they get in the way of the party's message. I'm afraid they have to go.
Well, so in fact, Lee Slaughter is going to go, because Lee Slaughter was the gentleman who said Islamabama's real legacy. What does Islamabama's real legacy actually mean?
I've no idea. First I've heard of that this evening. But
should he go then?
Well, I don't know.
No, but should he go? But you've just said the people that flout the rules should go.
No, if they get in the way of the party's message by behaving in a way which is undisciplined, then they must expect to be taken off the air. We are now a mainstream political party, not a fringe political grouping. The bookies are making us the favourites to win the European elections. We have a by-election now in Manchester Wythenshawe. We are serious contenders.
Wait a minute, Lee Slaughter is an Lee Slaughter is an MEP candidate. He also said the EU deliberately floods UK with Eastern European immigrants as a tool of choice to break the UK and force integration. Should he go?
I'm not going to get into defending or attacking individuals for their tweets. It's not exactly Lord Reynard, is it?
Well, who knows? The whole point is, aren't you meant to be, as it were, cleaning up the party?
David Cameron tweeted the other day that he was part of Nigella's team and almost undermined a legal action.
Okay, let's just be quite clear. You're saying Islam Obama is the same as Team Nigella.
I have no idea what Islam Obama is. It's the first I've heard of it.
So let's just go right to the top here. So Nigel Farage, mainstream party, he wants to set the tone. He makes a speech in the City in which he says that women who have children are therefore less valuable.
No, he didn't say that.
Yes, he said that it's understandable they're paid less if they go away and have children and break their careers. Do you believe that?
No, what he was talking about was brokerage firms in the City who take on women because of their client list. If they take 3 or 4 years off to bring up children, they lose a lot of their clients, so they're less valuable when they come back, because
so that's the
it's
message
the client
that UKIP,
list.
No, but that's the message. That's the message that UKIP wants to send out. They think it's acceptable.
There's no message. It's just stating a fact.
So they are less. They should be less valuable.
That is a fact.
Hang on. You don't think
the
that
client
there should be women
is
actually
worth
in the City
what the clients on it are worth. And if you've got fewer clients, the client list is worth less.
So
that's the simple point he was making.
It's acceptable to give them lower salaries.
Whether acceptable or not, it's a fact of life. That's what he was saying.
Do you think that, your wife's a member of the party, does she agree with that? What about women activists in the party?
I always agree with my wife. Whether she agrees with me is another matter. But Nigel Farage was simply stating a fact that when a city brokerage firm is taking on a woman or a man, their value to the firm is the value of the client list. If the clients that the woman had at the beginning of her pregnancy are much less valuable at the end of the period she's taken off to bring up children, they're going to pay her less. That is a fact of life.
There's now meant to be this rigorous...
He wasn't making any qualitative judgment about it. I read the speech, or read the transcript.
There's meant to be a rigorous weeding out process of problematic candidates.
Yeah.
Multiple sources have told Newsnight that rigorous weeding out process is a couple of interns Googling. For example, Googling people like Andrew McNellis, who is also an MEP candidate. Here's one from him. #Heathrow. The surly, miserable, multicultural staff of UK immigration are personification of a ruined UK. Sack them all. Is that something that's mainstream party policy?
Well, he was probably frustrated by the queue that he was in. I have no idea. I haven't come across it. You must understand that there's an army of people paid by the mainstream parties, Tories and Liberals in particular, who are frightened to death at the impact that UKIP is having upon them.
I just want to be absolutely clear.
Are being paid to mine into Twitter accounts, into Facebook pages, to find any little colourable remark they possibly can to pervert and to put in the headlights in order to bring down UKIP.
Okay, let's just be quite clear. Let's be quite clear.
They can't hit us on policy, so they're going for the individuals.
There is this backlash in the grassroots who do not want to be talked down to by the leadership.
There is no backlash.
Let's ask a question about Twitter.
We have 33,000 members. What's the size of the backlash?
That anybody from the party putting anything on Twitter is fine? Because you seem to be suggesting it's just a tweet, it matters not a jot. Is that the case?
If it's embarrassing or breaks the party's rules, then they will face disciplinary action. But it's up to individuals to make a complaint in an individual case. I'm not going to talk in general terms because you can't divorce the individual and the remarks he makes from the factual context in which they're made.
Neil Hampton, thank you very much. David Baddiel talking to Steve Smith. Now, Nigel Farage likes to lead UKIP from the front to set the tone, as it were. Think of his speech to the city, opining that women that take time away to have children are less valuable to their employers. Other members have distinguished themselves talking about bongo land and one...
Well, not this exactly, but this man, David Sylvester, formerly of the Conservatives, now of UKIP, who said at the weekend the country had been beset by storms since gay marriage was passed into law. Public outcry, certainly on Twitter, was palpable. Mr Sylvester looked as if he would survive the day.
All this months after Nigel Farage said he wanted to professionalise the party. In a moment, I'll be asking UKIP's deputy chairman whether you can change the DNA of UKIP. But first, here's our political editor, Emily Maitless again.
A gay anthem like this doesn't suddenly become a chart crusade for no reason.
I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna let myself get absolutely soaking wet.
And the reason it could be set to climb is this. What?
Council now suspended, insisted the English floods were as a result of the UK government's decision to legalise gay marriage. And this week, UKIP referred their Scottish interim chairman to a leading anti-sectarian charity, supposedly, I think, for re-education, after he described a local authority as being for gays, Catholics and communists.